Hello, welcome to Vivid Flowers and Colored Pencil. I'm Cynthia Knox. I'm very excited to share my love of flowers and painting with pencils with you. Here's what you'll be learning in the class. Our focus is on techniques to create dramatic, natural-looking flowers that draw our viewers into the rich colors and soft curves of petals and leaves. You'll learn how to use pencil pressure and layering for color density and richness. We'll emphasize blending to get nuanced colors and gentle transitions. One of the most important techniques is burnishing to make your artwork look like a painting. This is possible with additional layers, increased pencil pressure, and one particular pencil that works like magic. You'll learn to choose colors and create dark backgrounds that add drama. Of course, there will be the inevitable mistakes in any piece. I'll show you how to erase and correct them to rescue or improve your work. We'll be working with value, light, and shadow to add depth and dimension to your work, giving you a range of possibilities from subtle details to bold expressions to get just the effect you're after. A bit about me. I started drawing with graphite pencils when I was very young. About 10 years ago, I saw an art magazine that featured gorgeous colored pencil art by Barbara Edidin. It looked like oil paintings, and I wanted to do that. So I learned, and I have since gone on to teach others through books and classes. Walter Foster Publishing and I have partnered on 5 art books, including one on flowers in colored pencil. I've also done a colored pencil book on horses with Ann Kohlberg Publishing. Ann has shared several tips with me that I'll pass on to you. I live in upstate New York with my husband, Jeff. Our 2 daughters, Catherine and Abby, are adults now, and we love getting together with them for family vacations wherever it's sunny. I want you to get the most out of this class, so let's talk about how it works. It's great if you have some familiarity with colored pencils, but you can still get a lot out of the class if you haven't had much experience. There are 7 lessons. You don't have to watch them in chronological order, but it's not a bad idea since some of the techniques build on each other. I've provided class materials that you can download from the site. You'll find a list of supplies, 3 photographs of flowers for reference material, and a list of the colored pencils for each of those flowers. Here in front of me are the flowers we'll be using for demonstrations. They're on the website for you if you'd like to work on the same projects as me, or you can choose a flower of your own. I want to emphasize that this is a technique class. It's not meant to be step-by-step instruction. We won't be starting and finishing each flower on camera. The class is designed to give you the techniques to work on any project you'd like now or later. In the rest of this lesson, we'll be focusing on color in several ways. You'll be learning how to work with a color wheel, building color density, and using a technique called burnishing to get the rich look of an oil painting. Now, you may be familiar with working with a color wheel, but first I just wanted to go over a few important reasons it can help your work. The color wheel itself gives us the primary colors, which are red, yellow, and blue. And from those colors, we can see on the wheel how they can make orange, green, and violet. But I use the color wheel primarily for the complementary colors. What are complementary colors? They are the colors that pack a punch in your colored pencil masterpiece. You don't really know why that red and green piece works, but it does. You don't really know why purple and yellow look fabulous, but they do. And so if you use this wheel, for example, I'll say, okay, there's a color blue-green. I really like that color. What is the complementary color? What is going to make my viewer say, ooh, that looks good? Well, it's red-orange. So then I'll go into my pencil box and pull a few of those pencils out and just play with them. Okay, so let's say that I want to use the color violet in my work. What complementary color is going to jump out? And as you see on the wheel, it's yellow, of course. And there are various shades, various hues of these 2 colors. So if you look over here, I've got some color boxes prepared. You can see the yellow and the purple. You can see the blue and the orange, and you can see the red and the green. These are great color combinations. Now perhaps you don't want a dramatic composition. Perhaps you want a softer palette, something that doesn't quite jump off the paper. Well, you may want to keep it to a monochromatic color scheme. For example, some soft blues with a few darker blues. That's always nice. Another option of color schemes is the bright yellows, the reds, the oranges. They can be very exciting colors, and that creates a mood as well. And what you would want to do with those colors is have a darker background. So our darker colors tend to recede and they push the brighter colors forward, which is perfect in our flower compositions because our flowers usually are brighter colors. So that's what I would recommend, is having a brighter color scheme and then having your darker colors in the background. So a color wheel can be very helpful in determining your colors. I especially use it when I'm looking to decide my complementary colors and to make that piece just pop right off the paper. Speaking of which, let's talk about supplies. Let's talk about our colored pencils and our paper choices. So in the colored pencil world, there are many different types of paper that you can use. You can use watercolor paper, which is a little rougher texture that has more tooth. Tooth is how many layers that it has. Or you can use a hot pressed paper, which is my personal preference. Doesn't have much tooth, but it will give you the look of a painting once you have many layers on it. There are two types of paper. There's Rising Stonehenge that we all like, and there's Smooth Bristol, which is what I use. Rising Stonehenge has a little bit more tooth. Let's say you can get up to, I'm going to say 15 layers of color. Smooth Bristol has perhaps 10 layers possible for me to get color on it, but I like the look of it. I love the look of an oil painting with my colored pencil work, so I'm comfortable with the Smooth Bristol. Let me grab a pencil and show you. This is a very smooth texture. Right from the get-go, I've got a beautiful smooth layer. And as I add more layers and more layers, I'll be covering more of that paper, and I will be able to have a beautiful look to what I'm going to call a painting, a colored pencil painting. Speaking of pencils, my favorite pencils are called Prismacolor. There are many different pencils out there. They're very wonderful, but Prismacolor has a soft, buttery feel to them, and I really like them. They're made of a wax core. They go down very smoothly. Sets could be anywhere from, I'm going to say 24 to up to 150. I love getting a big set. It's a fun day in the art store when I can do that. But if your budget doesn't allow that, you can even buy a couple pencils and just try it out. They're sold individually. They come in water-soluble pencils and they come in the regular wax, and we'll be using both in our course. One last thing I want to mention about paper. Too many layers, you're going to rip your paper. So you have to be careful. If you want to get up to 10 layers on your Smooth Bristol, perfect. But there comes a point where the paper won't receive any more color, and your wax pencil will just skate across. The color won't adhere to the paper. And hopefully you'll be able to say, I'm happy with what I have before that happens. But be careful, we never want to have a rip in our paper. Now I'd like to talk to you about why I like to use the term painting when referring to my style of working with colored pencils. In front of me you're going to see two circles. One circle is the drawn look, and it's lovely, it's soft. There are many excellent artists who use this style, and what we have here is we have visible layers. We've got a little bit of paper tooth showing through. It's just a very nice look, but to me it's not really finished. I like to have a finished look, something that's fully saturated, something that just jumps off the paper. And so that right here is more of a painted look, as you can see. There's no white paper showing through. I've used the same number of layers, but I've used a lot more pressure. And so that's why I will call my work a painting. And I'm not the only one, to be honest with you. If you think about a pastel masterpiece, we call those pastel paintings. So we're getting there in the colored pencil world. We're calling them paintings as well. But there is a difference in the style. This is more of a drawn style. This is more of a painted style. So now let me show you a few techniques to get that painted look. I'm going to show you how to do something called a pressure bar. When I think in terms of pressure when I'm creating my work, I think in terms of a scale of 1 to 5. 1 being very soft strokes, I call them whisper strokes. 5 would sort of be that screamy, shouty stroke. That's where I'm really pushing my pencil into the tooth of the paper. So let's try this together. I'm going to start out very soft, and it's going to be sort of a rectangular bar. These are my whisper strokes. I'm applying a little bit more pressure as I'm moving to the right, and that would be more like a 2. I generally tend to stay in the 3 range when I'm layering color. That's getting a definitive color down there, but I'm not pushing the tooth down too hard. Now I'm going into the 4 range. And now I'm going into the 5 range. I'm pressing so hard that I might break my point. Don't be alarmed if that happens. It might even wake you up. There we go. This is a handy tool, folks. Always have this. It's a horsehair brush. It gets the crumbs off your paper. If your crumbs stay on the paper, you might actually incorporate that into your layer of color, and that can be a problem as things move along and you add more layers. So we've got the whisper strokes here, we've got the soft strokes, we've got medium pressure, and then we're working into the bigger pressure right here. And that's where every inch of white paper is covered. Now that we've learned a little bit about pressure, let's talk about layering. As a colored pencil artist, I don't mix my colors on a palette like painters do. I put them on the paper and I figure out my colors, and then I lay one color on top of another color. So let's show you what that can look like. I'm going to start with a color called apple green, and I'm going to swing it all the way from the left to the right. It's a nice, fresh, spring green color. Ultimately, what I'm looking to do is to get a darker color. I really want to get to a darker blue-green, but I know that I need a couple colors to get me there and have it look good. I want to build density. I want to build color density. So let me show you how. Now I'm taking this pencil, it's called dark green, and I'm going to go in about 1/3 of the way, and I'm going to lay some of that color down. Every time I put a layer down, I'm pushing a little more tooth of that paper in. Okay, brushing the crumbs away, keeping my paper clean. Now let's take this 3rd color. This is called indigo blue, and this is a fabulous color. It's very rich. And I'm going to press down pretty hard. I'm going to say this is a 4 out of 5 pressure, and it's giving me a nice color because I have 2 other colors underneath it. What would this look like if it was a standalone color? Let's check it out. Much bluer. So I've got that lovely blend of the 2 greens underneath it, and I can achieve this blue-green versus this bluey blue. Let's try it with another color combination. I'm going to use this color. This is called Blue Violet Lake. I'm going to extend it all the way across. Sort of a purpley blue. Let's get a little crazy here and add some red. It's interesting, it's nice, but I want something a little denser, so now I'm adding something called ultramarine, which is a fun blue color. And now I've got a much richer looking blue than if I just used ultramarine on its own. It's just a little too bright, and this was able to be taken down a few notches with the red underneath it. So that's how we layer. That's just 3 layers. I could go up to 10, 15, whatever my paper will take. And sometimes it takes a lot of layers to get to that color that you want to achieve, because generally speaking, you're looking at a photo reference and you want to match the colors that you see. We'll talk about that in another lesson, how to match your colors. But for now, this is how we blend. We lay one color on top of each other, a little bit more pressure here, a little bit more pressure there, and we're starting to look like that oil painting, which is what I like to go for. The advantage to layering is we can create all kinds of colors. You may not be able to get the color in your photo reference from your box of pencils, but you can when you use a combination of different colors. Additionally, you're going to get beautiful, rich density of color. It's not just going to be a flat green. It's going to be a very interesting looking blue-green. You're also changing the texture of your paper. With every layer that you're putting down, you are pushing down a little bit more tooth, a little bit more tooth, and a lot of tooth. And now you've got something that's sleek and shiny, and it looks fabulous. So now I'm going to talk about the technique called burnishing. Burnishing is a very simple thing to do, but it can radically change the look of your colored pencil work from a drawing, like we talked about, into a painting. Burnishing is simply taking the last layer or two and just really pushing it down. You can push it down with the pencil that you're using. You could push it down with a colorless blender, which is a wax pencil, but it has no color in it. And you can also push it down with a white pencil. Why would you use a white or a colorless? Well, when you burnish, you are using pressure, and that pressure is making the wax get a little warmer, and the heat of that wax sort of melts the colors together. So if you have maybe 4 or 5 layers, that pressure is all melting it together. And my favorite pencil to use with this is the white pencil. And the white pencil, let me demonstrate because this is already fully burnished. Let's say that I want to take a little bit of red. I want to take a little bit of blue. Okay, now looking at that, it's very nice, maybe a little boring, but I want to change the texture of that, and I want to change the look. So I'm pressing down. I'm giving it a 4 to 5 pressure. And that's all right. That pencil point is going to break. Sometimes you'll jump right out of your skin, but just keep going. Okay. What we have is a very unique hybrid of those 2 colors. But we also have a very sleek surface. So now we're getting somewhere. And I'm going to re-add that red. And it's very nice, very smooth, and just as vibrant as I want it to be. But it's slightly different from if it were just a red on paper. I've muted it a little bit with the blue that I've used. So burnishing is a great technique. I use it in everything that I do. I fully saturate my paper. I fully depress all of the tooth, and I get some rich looking colors, some colors that even surprise me. To recap, in this lesson we learned how to work with a color wheel to create drama in our work, how to build color density, and the technique of burnishing to get the rich look of an oil painting. Throughout the class, I'll be giving you assignments to practice what you've learned. Your homework for this lesson is to complete the color bars I demonstrated: pressure, layering and blending, and burnishing. It will get you more comfortable with achieving a more painterly look. In our next lesson, we're going to start painting flowers. We're going to learn how to use the grid system, and we're going to match our colors, the color of our pencils, to our photo references. See you there.